Hello, everyone. Welcome back to So Supportive this week. I'm Tracy, I'm your host. And thanks to all of the new viewers for joining us in the past few weeks. There have just been so many people who've watched my videos and joined along and requested sew-alongs and things like that. So it is getting really fun in here. Let me just tell you, I want to give a shout out to Bobbin with Brittany, who suggested that the block that I had that didn't have a signature on it, that one was probably signed with an erasable marker, like an error erase accidentally. And the funny thing was, I found not one, but two blocks that were stuck on top of the pile of blocks that I had. And so I found one from Geraldine Wilkins, and then I found this one, a cute one with Hermione Granger in it. And I remember that a person gave it to me. I remember we talked about the fact that Hermione Granger was on it, but there is no signature again. And so I have a feeling that this person too signed it with an erasable marker. So I have a feeling I'm going to have to go on my Facebook page and post a picture and see who these blocks belong to. And hopefully they're still on Facebook after all these years. And then maybe I could just write in who it was from. So it makes me a little sad and makes me laugh a little bit. I feel like this one may have been from Shannon Allen, who signed one with her husband, Keenan, who's my adopted son, but I'm not sure. So anyway, I digress. Today's video, I wanted to do a little Christmas haul because I got some really fun things this year for Christmas, and I wanted to show you a few of them. So first up, this was a gift from my father-in-law, and it is a hand crank for my Featherweight. It actually came from the Featherweight shop, and if you have a Featherweight and if you don't know about Featherweight shop, you should definitely look them up. They've got awesome things. So this one is a hand crank that I will take off the motor of my Featherweight, and then I can actually, well, it'll be like this, right? And I can go like this, and it turns the wheel in the opposite direction. See? Isn't that fun? So there have been times where the power has gone out, and I have been stuck for what to do with myself. And I always want to sew because, you know, you can't do dishes because you're going to use up all the hot water. You can't do any cooking. You can't do, you know, there's just so many things you can't do. You can sweep the floor, but that only takes a few minutes, right? And I remember when we moved here, we rented a townhouse and the power used to go out frequently in that area. And I would sit there going, well, boy, I wish I had a hand crank sewing machine, and then I could, you know, at least sew and get something done. Plus, you know, if the zombie apocalypse comes, I want to be able to fix people's clothing. So that's the plan. And so I got this adorable thing. There was a few years back that my husband actually purchased me the Featherweight shop tune-up kit for my Featherweight, and that also is fabulous. These are not inexpensive items, but they're really wonderful. The tune-up kit comes with a big long screwdriver. It comes with oil. It comes with extra felt pads that go inside the machine, and it has a little pop-up stand with the instruction book, and you flip it and do what it says, and it takes you through the whole process. So it's really 2 thumbs up for that item. So that one is really great. I'm going to go grab a box because that goes with the next item I wanted to show you. Okay. Okay, I'm going to leave the box right there. Okay. Alice's Wonderland Sampler Quilt. This is a book from a British author, and she created 100 quilt blocks that she used Liberty of London fabric to create. I can't even imagine. I think the fabric kit that she sold on her website, you need like fat eighths, like little tiny pieces of fabric for each one, but I think it was over $500 for the kit to go with the book. So when I worked at Keepsake Quilting, I came across this book from, I want to say it's something like Hand Sewing with Rachel, maybe I'll try and link her below. And she had an early access to the book, and I came across her video, and I thought it was a really wonderful idea. And because I worked at Keepsake Quilting, I thought, why don't we just create a kit for this? And so we created our own kit, and there were 3 of us who were making the quilts. And goodness, I can't get the box open. Okay, there were 3 of us who were making the kit and choosing the fabrics as well. And so I'll show you a few of the blocks that I got done. So I'm going to show you an order of the. So you start with the rail fence, and then a little variation, and then a 9 patch, and then, gosh, I don't even know how many patches this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 36 patch. And then this tiny one. Aren't these great? Yes. And so you work through, and the blocks progress in difficulty as you go through. I had these so neatly stacked as well. But what I really enjoyed about working on this project was that I was exercising my skills, if that makes sense. I actually had gotten an advance copy of the book from the publisher since I had a relationship with them, and was able to get an advance copy so that we could start working on it, so that we could drop the kit as the book was being published. And so in this box, I've got all of the things that I was working on. And so I was using the really small design boards. This is a 10 by 10 design board from Lori Holt. And then I'll pull out the fabrics. I apologize for the noise in the background. If I had to wait for it to be quiet, I would never get any filming done. So I really apologize and appreciate your patience with noises in the background. And if it bothers you too much, it's okay for you to skip ahead or just skip my videos altogether. I live in the city, so there's nothing really I can do. Okay, so I'm going to show you just the stack of fabrics. This kit sold out instantly at Keepsake. It was just such a fun project and so different, and people were very excited about it. As I said, you needed little, I think these are fat eighths, so you just needed small pieces of fabric, but you need 100 of them. And so we just had so much fun going through the store and picking out bolts of fabric that we had enough yardage to create kits. And so this was just really, it was so dear to my heart. And, you know, let me know if you guys are interested in doing a sew along with this one. As I said, it's a really, because you're working so small, you really have to be accurate with your 1/4 inch seam and your techniques in general. So I'm super proud of how my backs look. I was very careful with all of my piecing. I wanted it to be really good, but I also wanted my skills to, you know, get a little refresher. So that's Alice's Wonderland. I believe it's in my Amazon store. So if you feel so inclined to click my link below, it's always in the description. So if there's something in my studio that you're interested in, sometimes I have it in my store. Oh no, that didn't work. Pause. Okay, so this was an item that my husband bought me. It's been on my wish list for years, literally for years. And these are the color cubes by Sarah Renee Clark. I was blessed enough that my husband bought me the entire set, and I'll show you what they look like. So I actually have had one right behind me. So color cube. Not only is it really cute packaging, it's just a clever idea. So this is what it looks like. And I'll pull out a couple of examples. So each box has cards, and they are separated into themes. So for instance, this one is called Breathtaking Sunsets, and I'll grab the first few to show you. And it shows you a picture of something. Could be anything. It could be a landscape. It could be a room. It could be food, it could be flowers, it could be anything like that. And on the back, it shows you, on the back, it shows you the colors, the name of the color, the hex code, and then over here, it actually shows you the shades and tones that you could use that are next to those particular colors in the color wheel. And so it's just, they're stuck together. Let's see. So here's another one. And I've wanted these. So I saw them years ago because one of our graphic designers at work got it. And the designer of the box, she actually she likes coloring. And so these were designed for people who like to color, and she creates color pages, and she has, what's the word? She sells pens and things like that. And so in order to inspire people to color in and make it cohesive, I guess people maybe had trouble picking colors, she decided to create this whole system. And so you can buy, I think you have to buy either the sets of like 1 and 2 or 3 or 4. This is the newer version. She might be Australian, I think, but they actually have a distributor here in the United States, so you don't have to pay any tariffs on the projects. Oh, I was going to show you. I haven't opened up this set yet. I'm not going to bother. So basically what you get is you get the cube, and then in a little separate packet is all of the little tabs. And what I love about that is that it separates them. It's actually color coordinated. And then there's a little extra thing. So if you pull one out, you can pop this in there so that you can keep track of where it goes in the deck. But what I love about it is all of these tabs weren't already placed. And so you have to go through and find all of the pictures and then separate them yourself. And what's actually kind of neat is that on the first card, it actually shows you all of what's in there and the numbers if you want to make sure that you've got all of them. So I'm very excited about using this as a tool for just learning more about color, learning more about color combinations, helping me to find different color combinations that I think would be beautiful in my quilts, and just learning more about color in general. So I was so excited. My husband was actually really excited too, as well. He was really proud of himself for getting this for me, which I thought was kind of cute. So he had told me about a few weeks before Christmas that it had arrived at work. All right, so the next few items are things that I got from colleagues. So my good friend Michelle at Maywood Studio, shout out to Michelle. She does marketing for them and special projects. And I have been doing some voiceovers when they do these little short commercials that they put together. And Creative Tiles was one of the items that I got to do a voiceover for. And these are felt tiles that have sticky backs that you can put up on your wall and use as a design wall. And I've got a wall right over there that's currently empty, so I'm going to use it. They do stick permanently. So I think I'm going to use the little Velcro command strips because I haven't picked a paint color for my walls yet. And so I want to leave them as is for now. So I think I'm going to try command strips. And if that doesn't work, I am probably going to adhere them to something else so that I can attach it to the wall and be able to remove it when I want to paint. So that is fun. And I'll show you when I install those. I'm very excited. She also sent me the Kimberbell Enchanted Winter Fabric Set. So this is the quilt that goes with it. And Kimberbell does embroidery in the hoop projects. I haven't decided if I want to do this one. I certainly have a list I have probably 4 Kimberbell kits. I really love her basics, but they're so cute. And so it's lots of blues and greens and purples. and just really pretty. But I love these little kits. I've got several, actually. I think they're all Kimberbell, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure they're all Kimberbell. And they come in these cute little boxes. So I just keep them in the box until I need them. And that's loads of fun. So I'll put that aside too. Okay. Finally, my good friend Lisa Archer at Pickle Pie Designs actually sent me her advent calendar. And we had a big fiasco happen. I believe this is a 12-day advent, and we went to meet, because she actually lives here in North Carolina too, and planned to get together, and then she got ill right as we were both in our cars driving, and so we ended up having to postpone our get together, and then so I never got the box early in December, and so she had to mail it to me, which is just like us. Because, you know, we both sort of have some chronic illness issues that sometimes interfere with us getting together. But I am hoping to do this project at some point. I'm not even sure what's in it and if there's multiple projects or what. But I think I'll just, once I open it, I'll sort of start having fun and going through, and, you know, I'll just decide here and there to do one of the projects. I'm not sure. Or I might just pick a date and just start doing the Advent thing. So we'll see how much fun it is, and then next year I'll let you know if it's time to order the Advent calendar, and you can place your order. I just wanted to do a little short section of video to show you these fun things in case they're not on your radar. You can add them to your wish list for your birthday or for next year, or just buy them because you want them. So that's all. Okay, I got some supplies. I got a hole punch. I got 1.5-inch binders, and I got some tabs as a suggestion from one of our viewers, which I thought was brilliant. Okay, so I got the Easy Squeeze 3-hole punch because, you know, I had one before we moved, and I'm pretty sure I threw it away because I really, really hated it. And it wasn't easy to punch holes. Ooh, fun. That popped up when I took it out of the box. And all right, so I've got a few new project pages to add to our So Supportive UFO tracker. So if you are a member of Patreon and you haven't seen my note, I actually uploaded all of these to the library in Patreon, and it's yours. If you're a paid member, you can download it for free, or you can go to the link below in my Etsy shop, and I have all 3 of these sheets listed in Etsy. And my plan is that if you decide to purchase it, whether you are a Patreon member or buy it on Etsy, you will be able to download any future updates. So this one is for new projects. I wanted a place where I could keep track of any projects that I purchased fabric for, kits, those type of things that are in my sewing room that I might want to start this year. I don't want to just work on UFOs. I do want to make progress on some of my older projects or things that I've purchased that just seem exciting for me to work on. So, you know, it can't all be work, work, work. We have to have fun too, right? So I created a new project page, and I created a project list. So my plan for this one is just a place where you can write down a list of all of the projects that are in your UFO or WIP pile. This way you can write down just the name, what type of project it is, whether it's applique, piecing, foundation paper piecing, English paper piecing, any type of project like that. So that was what I thought of for the type. And then the location of where it is. There was a period of time where I downsized, and we moved from a 3,000 square foot house down to an apartment that was 1,200 square feet. All right, 1,250. It was 1,250 square feet. But when we moved in, I didn't have a dedicated sewing room. And so what I did was, for all of my supplies, I kept a list like this, where I wrote down what the item was, where it was located, so that I knew that if I needed flannel, or if I needed minky, or if I needed batting, I knew where to look. So I didn't have one location for all of my supplies. I had cabinets, I had under my bed storage, I had a closet, and I had a garage. So I thought this might be helpful for some people to be able to keep an index of their UFOs. And then finally, I also updated the original UFO tracker. So like I said, if you are a Patreon member and you've already had this, go to the library and there's a version 2 that you can download, or this is the version that is on Etsy currently. So in addition to the pattern, the size, and the number of blocks that you need to create, I wrote down where the pattern is located, because if perchance I want to make the same pattern again in the future, I want to know whether this is a PDF and it's on my computer, or if it's paper pattern and it's with my patterns, and that kind of thing. And I also wrote down the UFO location here as well, so that you could keep track of where it was. I did this mainly because I woke up in the middle of the night the other day and I went, oh no, what if I can't find the patterns? And for example, when I did last week, when I went through all of the house blocks, I put all of the UFOs away, and then later I found one of the houses that I didn't even show. It had fallen out of the pile and somehow ended up with my scraps. And when I was clearing away my scraps and clearing off my table, I found it, and then I couldn't remember where I put the UFO. It's been on the shelf, but what I did was I put it in with all of the other UFOs in one of my UFO project bags. And it took me a few minutes to find it before I remembered what I had done. So I thought that was helpful. I also put over here, in addition to plans, which I had, which originally my thought was, oh, if I wanted to write notes for how I wanted to finish it, what kind of quilting I wanted to do, or if I wanted to send it to a long armor, I could put a note here. But there were a few UFOs that I put on the tracker list that I actually thought it might be helpful to put obstacles, because there were 3 UFOs that I've got that are in limbo for a reason. So one of them I showed last week, and I said I wasn't sure what to do with the border. Came with a border. I don't really like the border. And 2 projects that I lost a half square triangle, and I don't have any more of the exact fabric. And so I need to come up with a plan B of what I'm going to do for one half square triangle. In one case, it's a very small piece. The other one, it's quite a large piece, and so it'll be very obvious. So that's what I added to the UFO tracker. Now, what I'm planning to do, now these are all the ones that I have currently filled out for the projects that are here for the next year. And my goal is to use the 3-hole punch. I got this pretty pink binder because it went with the trackers. And actually it's funny because I printed them off 2 different times and the color is slightly different, but that's okay. But one of our viewers, and I'll drop her comment right here, she actually left a comment and suggested that we, in the binder, put tabs for each step, so that you could put, if you finish sewing the rows together and it needs to be quilted, then you can move it to the quilting section. And that way, if you are in the mood to do a particular task, or if, say, it's a bad hand day and you can't cut, but you can sit there and sew, you could go to the sewing tab. So I'll figure out what the tabs are, and if I need any more, I'm not quite sure. I got 1 package, but I can always order more because I got both of these. They're from the same brand, and so they all coordinate with the binders that I got. and I got them on Amazon, and they're actually in my Amazon store if you are interested in getting the same ones. I am going to put this all together. My plan, I got a package of 4 binders that come in different colors, and my plan for the other binders is to take one and have it be a finishing binder, so that when I finish a project, I can take it out of here and put it into the finishing binder, and then I'll have track of how many projects I finished. But then also the other 2, I think I'm going to get some of those plastic dividers that have you could slide paper into for a 3-hole punch. I forget what they're called, but I'll link those as well. And my plan is to actually use the other 2 and put patterns in there so that I can actually also have all of my loose patterns in one place. I might have to do one for embroidery and one for regular piecing. Not quite sure yet, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So let's get this started. So here you go. This is what it is looking like. I will go through and I'll decide what tabs I would like to put in here, and then separate these into what still needs to be done, if they still need to have blocks done, if they need to be quilted or need borders or need to just have the rows sewn together. That's what I'm going to put in here, and I'll separate them, and then I'll add the tabs. But this is working out very well. Well, it has been a super productive week. I'm feeling like I've accomplished a whole bunch. Even if I really didn't get much sewing time this week, that's okay. Some weeks are just going to be, busier than others. And with the new year happening and all of that, I had a lot of miscellaneous things. Like, I'm going to show you now what my room looked like. So, or at least my cutting table and my sewing machine area. And take a look at that. Oy, oy. That is a big old mess. Was that a hot mess or what? So really, I had to clean all of that up. So now take a look at it. Much better. Looks much better, doesn't it? Still needs a little bit of zhuzhing here and there, but it's doing much better. I apologize for the really shiny light over there. It's funny. I always hate when people point out things like that because I never noticed them until the person pointed to something. But we're having an extremely windy day outside today. It's been a beautiful few days where the weather has been phenomenally warm. So I've tried to get outside as often as I can to just enjoy it. But today it's super windy and cold, and we're getting light reflecting off of the icicle lights that were hung for Christmas time. And I thought my husband would take them down today, but we weren't anticipating wind. So that being said, moving on. All right, so beyond cleaning up, I was really happy to come up with an actual physical plan for the UFO trackers. And that 3-hole punch is amazing. I might add that to my shop as well, because my old one was so much work to push it down. And I think it was the same brand, if I'm not mistaken, but it's really, really old. I mean, we probably had that thing for over 20 years. And I had thought that perhaps it just wasn't sharp anymore. But after using that one, I mean, I did dozens of pages all at once. Done. So that was great. So I will be keeping that for sure. For as I add more pages, I definitely printed off several pages that are just for future use, because I never know when I'm going to have to add something in. And so that was really great. Plus, coming up with sort of that index idea, a plan for actually putting the new projects in somewhere, because I do have a bunch of new projects and I'm feeling technically, because I haven't cut into them, I haven't started them, they're not a UFO, but they're still sitting here and I can see them and I know I want to do them, but I haven't started them. So we'll take one project at a time. I also just want to take a minute because I'm actually sort of thinking of a few things. I came across a video that was so fabulous. I'm going to link it right here now. This woman needed a cheer up, and so she created a whole dopamine project. She picked an easy sewing project. She chose fruit because she really likes fruit. She picked flatter spray and yuzu because she liked the fruity smell of it. And then she even created a playlist that she could listen to that was fruit themed. It got my brain sort of going because I thought about that and I thought, you know what? I've been focusing a bunch on chronic illness and talking about how I don't want to work on one project and knock it off the list, because that doesn't make sense for me, just because I might not be able to do certain things if my body doesn't cooperate, right? So that's sort of gearing it towards the chronic illness side of So Supportive, right? However, the organizing the list is definitely for the ADHD part of me. And perhaps you might like a different style of organization, and that's fine. That's fine. But I want to give you permission to do whatever works for you and however you need to do it. But the other flip side of ADHD is that sometimes we really just need an excuse to start. Some people really have a hard time starting, and some people have a hard time with decisions. I'm the latter. I have a hard time making decisions, and I sometimes get paralyzed when I walk into the sewing room. And you'll see me sometimes on a live where I come in and I'm like, I don't know what I'm working on today. Or I come in and I start something and I think I'm going to be working on one thing and something goes wrong and I'm like, I can't do this now. And it's totally an ADHD thing. And I really, really wish I had been diagnosed with ADHD years ago, because I would have had so many things in my arsenal, and I just don't feel like ADHD sort of caters to older adults being diagnosed with it. And I know you can also make the excuse of creative brain, correct? Right? So, creative brain where you're just like, ooh, that thing, I want to work on that. Ooh, I want to add this to this, And so that's sort of part of it as well. But I've been thinking a little bit about how we can advance projects for people who need sort of that dopamine rush, or maybe we can gamify part of this for people who really need it to be a game to get things done. So I've been thinking a little bit about that. I would love your thoughts, and if you want to leave me a comment below and let me know what your hang up is on getting projects done or even starting them. So I'm just curious. And part of why I needed to clean up my space was I can't focus if I don't have a clear spot to work. And so that really messes me up. So there you go. So in addition to all that's going on, I'm reorganizing some shelves, and maybe I'll drop a photo in of my shelves because they're still a mess, but they were even messier before. There was things jammed in all of the shelves that didn't go together, and so I'm trying to group things and put like things together, figure out where I'm going to put a few drawers into my calyx units and see how that might work. So that's an ongoing project. So I've got a little bit of a mess in front of shelves, and that kind of bothers me as well. Plus there's a little bit of a mess on the floor in the middle of the room, so where I've pulled things out and I'm not quite sure where they're going back. So I've got that going on. I'm trying to make the room nice and make it my sanctuary for 2026. That's my goal because it brings me joy. And I think we all need as much joy as we can possibly get in our lives. So that's my wish for all of you as well. I'd like to welcome, we have a whole bunch of new Patreon members, so thank you so much for joining the community. Even if you only joined for the free account, totally fine. You'll still get updates as well occasionally, and so you'll probably just get emails from me with big announcements over the course of the year. So I'm hoping that each time I sort of throw a challenge out, that I'll also make a post about it so that you'll be notified as well. And that's totally fine. The link is below for that. As I mentioned, there's also a link below for the Etsy shop where you can pick up the UFO tracker if you're not a member of the Patreon community. Okay, so the final thing I want to mention today is the village quilt. So this one, I showed my UFO blocks that look like this and like this, and they all take charm packs, and it's a super fun sewing project. Moda has actually released this pattern as a free pattern now. So many of you said you wanted to do a sew along with the village blocks, and I'm kind of toying with an idea, and I want your feedback. So if you were one of the people who said you wanted to sew along with me on work on the village quilt, what if we did a sew along that was live once a week, maybe twice a month, something like that, where we get together and we work on these blocks and we just chat and hang out and have fun. And maybe that's an evening. I can either do evenings or mornings. So let me know what you prefer. And of course, you'll be able to watch the playbacks, but I want as many people as possible to join the live. So let me know below if you are one of the people who want to do a sew along with the village quilt, which one works for you, mornings or evenings. It would likely be a weekday. My weekends are kind of crazy busy. So there you go. So hopefully one of those options will work on a weekday. And this project is so much fun. And so if you're like me and you have a bunch of charm packs that you want to go sew through, this is your project because it's fun. It's fun and it uses a ton of charm packs. So, and the 5-inch charms, I should specify, because sometimes the 2.5-inch charms are also charm packs. So there you go. I'm sure interested in knowing what you got up to this week, if you got sewing done, or if you were able to organize your UFO tracker list with me, just went through all of your UFOs and wrote down notes. Awesome. Like, high five for you. And I'm giving myself a high five because I'm pretty freaking proud of myself that I actually got all of those listed out, written down. All the notes are there so that I know where they are, at least where they are in the sewing. There's only currently 3 places where they are located. They're all in my sewing room, and they're either on the shelf or they're in a UFO bag. And I have 2 UFO bags that I might actually be able to combine into one. That'll make it even simpler. Those are all the things that I'm super excited about this week. I guess the challenge for this next week is for us to come up with a plan of which project we're going to delve into first. Is it a larger project or an easy one? It's totally up to you. If you are low on spoons, I've talked about spoons before, but I'll link to the spoon theory before because I actually have a document that you can download about what spoon theory is. But the basic gist is that everybody wakes up and they have a certain amount of spoons every day. So let's say you wake up and you have 20 spoons, right? And everybody wakes up with 20 spoons. But if you have a chronic illness, you might not wake up with 20. You might wake up with 12. And a shower is 2 spoons. Every activity that you do during the day, getting dressed, is 2 spoons. Making breakfast is 1 spoon. If it's a day where you have to take a shower, but you have to wash your hair, that's 2 spoons, but maybe just taking a quick rinse off is 1 spoon, that kind of a thing. But we have to make trade-offs. So what my challenge is this week, go through and figure out what your first project is going to be. And if you're having a low spoon week. Maybe it's something as simple as create a label for your quilt. Maybe it's sew on a binding. Maybe it's sew a few of those units together, because honestly, every stitch counts towards your UFO. Not all of us can, complete a quilt top in one day. So just be gentle with yourself. Remember that you don't have to sew all of these. If there are some projects that you have that maybe you just really hate the technique, maybe you don't like the fabric anymore, maybe it's something like that, maybe you create a little pile that you bring it to your guild next time and put it on the donate table. Or maybe it's you just drop it off at Goodwill. Whatever it is, whatever works best for you, that's fine, and that's still progress. So I can't wait to hear about your progress, and I sure hope that you'll leave me a comment. Please like this video if you've enjoyed it and you've gotten to the end. How about we do something fun, like if you've made it to the end, drop a flower emoji in the comments below with your comment, and then I'll know that you watched the entire thing. So thumbs up for you guys. I will see you next week, and just remember, every little bit is progressing us towards finishing. So have a great week.